In his golden palace, the Titan Cronus lay defeated and wrapped in chains. His powerful brothers and sisters, the old gods who ruled the world in this ancient age, prepared to tear the world apart with war to avenge him. And Cronus' children, who had just been freed from their prison in his stomach, fortified themselves on the snowy peak of Mount Olympus, led by the young Zeus. The earth and heavens braced for a cataclysmic battle between these two camps of mighty gods, and the outcome would change the order of the cosmos forever. For 10 years, Cronus and the elder Titans warred against Zeus and his family, and the Olympians stood ready. At Zeus's side were his siblings Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Hestia, and Demeter. But neither side could gain the victory. At last, Zeus sought the counsel of Mother Earth, and old Gaia answered him with a riddling oracle from the mouth of her cave on Mount Parnassus, that the winner of this war must free those held captive in the gloom of Tartarus, the dreaded prison of the underworld. Trapped in Tartarus were Gaia's monstrous children, the Hecatonchires, who bore 100 strong hands, and the one-eyed Cyclopes. Wishing them free, she willingly revealed the secret of victory to Zeus. Taking this advice, straightway he traveled through the dark underworld to the gates of Tartarus's unholy abyss, where he battled and slew the giant snake Campe, the warden of this jail, and set about freeing the captives. The leader of the younger gods was awestruck at the sight of these first children of Earth, for each of the 300-handers, named Briareus, Cottus, and Gyges, had moving from his shoulders 100 arms, while above them towered 50 heads. As for the Cyclopes, Brontes, Steropes, and Arges, each of them had a single round eye in the center of his forehead. They had shown from their birth such overwhelming energy and terrifying strength that Uranus had feared them and thrust them into Tartarus before they were even grown. Zeus rejoiced at the power and skill of these allies in the war. The Cyclopes made themselves a forge in the glowing heart of the volcanic Mount Etna in Sicily, and there they crafted such gifts for their new comrades as only they could fashion. To Poseidon they gave a trident with unbreakable prongs, and to Hades a cap of darkness, whose wearer was invisible to gods and men. For Zeus himself, they forged the kingliest weapons of all, the thunderbolts and the blasting, crackling lightning. Then Zeus set before his new comrades all the nectar and ambrosia of the gods, and addressed them in council. "Hear me, mighty children of earth and heaven, so I may speak what my heart demands. For long years, we have been battling against the Titan gods. You've won your freedom now, from bondage in Tartarus's gloom. Stand with us, and show your invincible strength against our common enemy." And the 100-handed Cottus answered Zeus, "Warrior and true king, we children of earth honor your wisdom, and know that you, and not the Titans, will avert chaos and destruction for all the immortals. Our power is yours. We shall protect this kingdom, yours and ours, and stand fast at your side in battle." All the gods and goddesses let up a mighty cheer, and in due course, with the Hecatonchires and Cyclopes with them, they rushed back into the heat of combat. The Titans on their side, the vengeful Cronus among them, were just as ready, and as the battle joined, the boundless sea resounded terribly, the earth boomed, the wide heavens groaned as they shook, and vast Olympus rocked on its base. Even down to the abyss of Tartarus echoed the sound of footfalls and battle strikes, and as the two sides came together, their great war cry reached to the starry skies above. Now Zeus loosed his fury, and the bolts with thunder and lightning shot so fast and fiercely from his hand that earth crashed in conflagration, and the forests crackled with fire. Ocean's waters boiled, and the vapor encircled the Titans, while the unyielding, dazzling flames and flashes of electric light robbed their eyes of clear sight. Unbearable heat spread everywhere, and it seemed as if earth and heaven were clashing together and falling into ruins. At the same time, the winds spread smoke and battle cry and crash of spears as the 100-handers, insatiable in war, advanced, hurling 300 vast rocks at a time. Before these terrors, even the elder gods could not stand. Cronus and the Titans were dashed from their battlements and fell like shooting stars 9 days and nights down to earth, and then on down for 9 days and nights more to Tartarus. Here were they bound up and cast into the dreadful pit, sealed away behind a triple wall of bronze built by Poseidon, and the great 100-handers were set to be their guards. But not all Titans were trapped in Tartarus. Prometheus, for one, had refused to resist the Olympians, recognizing with his unique wisdom and foresight that the Titans' rule was at an end. He would have dissuaded his kin from taking up arms in a lost cause, but they failed to listen, trusting instead in their own power. Huge Atlas, brother of Prometheus, after escaping the great defeat, was eventually overtaken, and Zeus stationed him on the very verge of the earth, before the land of the clear-voiced Hesperides, with a sentence that he carry forever on his shoulders the weight of the whole vast sky. Having achieved victory and secured his kingdom for now, Zeus set about administering his new domain. He divided rule over the cosmos with his brothers. To Hades went dominion over the underworld, and to Poseidon the sea, while Zeus himself took the realms of the air and the earth. He rewarded all those who had supported his claim and fought beside him. But one of his old allies was far from pleased. Gaia resented that she had helped free her firstborn children from Tartarus, only to have her Titan sons and daughters take their place in the dark chasm. In hot wrath, Mother Earth brought forth from Tartarus the most horrific monster yet seen. Typhon, he was called, the greatest and most fearsome of Earth's children. Half man and half animal, he was human to his waist, and instead of legs he moved on vast, writhing, snaky coils. Typhon stood so huge that he towered over the mountains, and his head knocked against the very stars. His outstretched arms reached from sunrise to sunset, and 100 dragon heads shot out from his shoulders, with a cacophony of competing noises and howls blasting forth. Bristly hair floated in the wind from his head and chin, and pure fire streamed from his eyes. Such a monster was Typhon, the embodiment of chaos, the arch-enemy of Olympian order. Hurling clusters of rocks up at heaven, he ran with hisses and screams while a red mass of flame bubbled from his mouth. When the gods saw this enormous raging creature charge at Olympus, Zeus took up arms, shining and crackling as he summoned his power against the most unstoppable of all foes. His kingship would be tested and proven, here and now, on this field of battle. When Typhon was far off, Zeus hurled thunderbolts at him, and when he came near, he pursued him through the mountains that rose around Olympus. The mightiest of gods and mightiest of monsters did battle. Every blow struck, sending shock waves through the world, cleaving apart mountains, casting ripples through the farthest oceans. Their battle raged on, joining in hand-to-hand combat until both were covered in wounds, neither surrendering. But Zeus's almighty power didn't fail him that day, and leaping down from the top of Olympus, he burned Typhon's countless heads with a wave of white-hot lightning. He delivered one more all-powerful blast that tore through the air, lighting it all ablaze, and tore through Typhon's scaly skin. Under Zeus's withering fire, the monster's rocky flesh, together with the landscape all around Olympus, melted away like metal in a forge, glowing hot and flowing into smoldering embers. When the smoke cleared and the ashes swirled in the air, Typhon lay in defeat, barely alive. Before the monster could recover his strength, Zeus buried him underground, wrapping his body with unbreakable chains that he thrashes against day and night in bottomless fury. They say that his prison lies beneath the volcano, Mount Etna, whose loud rumblings and fiery eruptions reveal that the raging monster still lies deep below. And it was with this grand victory over chaos personified that the reign of Zeus and the gods of Olympus truly began. It was a reign won through violence as well as wisdom, a kingdom born in the cinders of an old world and promising something new. Fate decreed that the bloody succession of generations, a cycle of rising and falling tides, would bring us mortals to this age of Olympus. And generations to come will pray that the dominion of Zeus, conqueror of the Titans, vanquisher of monsters, father of all, shall endure forever. Welcome all to the commentary for the War of the Olympian gods against the Titans, and the story picks up right where the prequel to this one, on the birth of Zeus, left off, with Cronus now bound up in chains, and the Olympian gods on their way to war against the elder gods, called the Titans. The mythology of this cosmic war between the gods and Titans was not only told a lot in the ancient world, but is still a really popular story in modern media nowadays. It's one of those great archetypal battles in mythology, with this vast cosmic scale and beings of incomprehensible power duking it out. And there's also a lot of symbolism here, which we can get into a bit more in this commentary. So the source for this story, again, like the prequel story involving Zeus, is Hesiod's poem Theogony on the origins of the gods, and the progress of the cosmos, usually violent progress, toward the order that we know today. Another piece of terminology used to describe this story in Hesiod's poem is that it's a cosmogony, a story not just about the origins of the gods, but the origins of the cosmos, the origins of the order of things. And let's talk about this word cosmos for a second. For the ancient Greeks, cosmos meant the order of things, some kind of ordered, deliberately put together system. It's actually related to our word cosmetics in English, which are things that create an ordered appearance, and the verb kosmeo in Greek means to organize or to decorate something. So as a cosmogonic story, this myth is revealing where the order of the universe came from, why certain gods are in charge, and why things are the way they are, how the system of the universe came to be. The combat against the Titans is referred to as the Titanomachy. That's the technical term for it, related to the Greek roots. The Titan part obviously comes from the Titans, and the Maki part at the end comes from the Greek word mache for battle. So it just means the Titan battle. You might have heard of another event from Greek mythology called the Gigantomachy, the war against the giants. And depending on what ancient source you're reading and what period of time it comes from, the Gigantomachy might be another name for the same war against the Titans, or it might be another, different, later event, with divine heroes like Heracles actually taking part in it. So sometimes the Titans and the giants get sort of conflated together. Now, I talked in the comments for the last video about the importance of succession in this story of cosmogony, how the succession of generations of gods structures this forward march of progress from chaos into law and order. And the battle between the Olympians and the Titans exemplifies the violent way this progression is imagined here, with overthrow and war being the way that the new order is founded, as the younger generation does away with the older one. We also get in this story another really classic battle that symbolizes this contest between the forces of primal chaos and the new order of the gods, which is this duel between Zeus and Typhon. The monster Typhon is truly the embodiment of that old, violent, wild, primeval order, born from the earth, and the very epitome of chaos. The way Hesiod depicts Typhon in Theogony makes his chaotic nature really obvious. He's said to have multiple different heads coming out of his body, coming out of his shoulders, that all speak in different sounds. He's sort of this walking conglomeration of all different clashing noises, a monster comprising lots of beasts, lots of monsters, into one body. So against this pure embodiment of chaos, Zeus emerges as the pure embodiment of order, a radiant anthropomorphic god who isn't a monster and looks like us, and who has the power to topple the forces of chaos in this epic battle. And Zeus does indeed defeat him, but it's always worth remembering, again, very symbolically, that Typhon doesn't die, he's only trapped. Chaos might be defeated for now, but the forces of order always need to stay vigilant in case it breaks free and threatens the cosmos again. Chaos is always bubbling beneath us, just under the surface, ready to break free. Now, one other interesting way the story of the Titanomachy was used in ancient Greece and Rome was as political propaganda, because it embodies the principle of order versus chaos, of the heroes fighting against the monsters. You had in the imagery of this myth a set of symbolic images that could be appropriated to convey the efforts of kings, generals, and so on to defeat their enemies. They represented the enemy as monstrous, like the Titans or the giants, and the king or whoever as the divine hero, beating back the tides of chaos to preserve order in the world. A few examples of this come to mind, one in the city of Pergamon in Asia Minor, what's modern-day Turkey. This is one of the Hellenistic kingdoms that rose up after the death of Alexander the Great, and one of the phenomenal pieces of artwork from that city was what's called the Great Altar of Pergamon. And you can see this in Germany now, actually. The pieces were brought over to Germany in the 19th century when this was all excavated, and now it's in its own little museum. The artworks that decorate this massive altar are scenes from the war against the giants, the powerful gods fighting these massive human-like monsters surrounded with snakes. And this was set up, this big altar, to celebrate the victories of Pergamon over its enemies, of which it had a lot, including Celtic tribes and different rival kingdoms. Here, with these artworks on the altar, securing the kingdom of Pergamon is likened to the victory of the gods over the giants, these forces that threaten the stability of the cosmos. That's one example among many. Roman emperors like Augustus are likened to the gods in this way too, with some gigantomachy imagery appearing in Virgil's epic poem, the Aeneid. Augustus's big foundational victory at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC against Antony and Cleopatra is imagined in the Aeneid as a kind of gigantomachy, where the Roman gods are fighting against the monstrous, wild gods of Egypt, just as the virtuous Roman soldiers of Augustus are fighting the Egyptians, led by Cleopatra, the forces of order versus the forces of barbarism and chaos. That's the propaganda. Okay, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed this journey back in time to the early days of the cosmos in this story and the birth of Zeus one. Speaking of chaos being a constant threat even now, I'll leave you with one more fun tidbit about Typhon. There are some traditions around Typhon that where he was imprisoned under the earth was underneath one of the big volcanoes in the ancient Mediterranean world, Either Mount Vesuvius on mainland Italy in the Bay of Naples, the one that wiped out Pompeii and Herculaneum, or under Mount Etna, a huge volcano in Sicily a bit further to the south. And according to the story, what causes these volcanoes to shake and erupt from time to time is the enormous monster Typhon, chained up beneath them, writhing and wrestling against his bondage, always trying to break free and take his revenge. That's what causes the volcanoes to erupt. So there's a cheerful thought. Let's hope he doesn't get out. And that's it for this commentary. If there are any questions or anything else you'd like to add to the conversation, please leave a comment, and thank you very, very much, as always. With that, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, and remember, beware of chaos.